cancersupportmass.org.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today, we're talking about the top estate planning mistakes to avoid. Todd, a lot of people create their estate plan, but there are some that don't actually transfer assets into it. Can you explain why this is such a big mistake?
Sure. I'm going to try to explain it both from a revocable and an irrevocable planning standpoint. With the revocable, if you don't put assets in there, you end up leaving them owned perhaps jointly if you're married, and designated beneficiaries and the like. But if everything goes to the spouse when one dies, then you've completely avoided your estate plan. In other words, you've set your trust up, but you went around it by leaving everything to the spouse instead of going through it by funding the trust and cramming down the assets to shelter some from estate taxes on the first death so there's less taxed on the second death. And ultimately, on the second death, if you don't plan, there could be a probate problem because everything would go to probate if it's in their own name. The other big reason is with an irrevocable trust, of course, not funding it also can result in estate tax problems by the same way it did with the revocable trust. But in addition to not funding them with the irrevocable, you don't even begin the 5-year waiting period to get the assets protected from the nursing home. So there's a much bigger problem not funding an irrevocable trust versus not funding a revocable trust. So make sure you fund your trust if you do your planning.
Well, luckily, Todd Lutzke and the estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have written a brand new guide that details the estate planning blunders to avoid. You can request this brand new guide by simply calling 866-848-5699, 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Building a solid financial strategy is a core element to enjoying your retirement years. That's why you need advice that you can count on. At the Armstrong Advisory Group, we understand the challenges of positioning your assets to help you maintain your wealth over time. Our goal is to offer advice that is both suitable and in your best interest. When you hire one of us, you hire all of us so you can be comfortable knowing that every advisor in our firm is dedicated to helping you create a realistic plan for your later years. Visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us help you secure your financial future. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you looking to volunteer for an amazing nonprofit organization that helps our veterans? The DAV Department of Massachusetts Transportation Network needs volunteers right now. This network provides free transportation to and from any VA medical appointment for veterans of all eras. To become a volunteer driver, you do not need to be a veteran or a DAV member. You just need to have the willingness to help our veterans and have a valid driver's license. Sign up now at davma.org. That's davma.org.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might just make it in time for the St. Croix Mango Melee on July 7th. The family-friendly event offers food demonstrations and tastings, cultural dance performances, and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor that provides investment advisory services. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else, and do not guarantee profit. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck, Mike, and Tucker kicking off another week with you here on the Financial Exchange. And our top story today is from CNBC. And the headline is soaring debt and deficits causing worry about threats to the economy and markets. It's an interesting article to write when you are less than 0.25% away from all-time highs on the S&P 500. That does not really seem to be indicative of worry. Now, there's been plenty of ink that's been spilled about the deficit.
Sure.
But there's a difference between writing about something and acting on it, and markets are not really saying anything about the deficit right now because the 10-year U.S. Treasury is at 4.4%, which is over 0.5% below the couple of year high that it hit back in October of last year. The S&P 500, as I mentioned, is within sniffing distance of all-time highs right now. And so it's not something that is being represented in any way, shape, or form by market participants and the action that they're actually taking.
Yeah, so it's not to say that there should not be concern about debt and deficits. The deficit sitting at $34.5 trillion and having accelerated by $11 trillion just over the last 4 years, I think is concerning. But there is no evidence
I'll give you another
anywhere in markets or politics right now that the deficit is of the utmost concern. Like, not only is it not showing up in stock markets, but it's not even taking the debate stage in a presidential election year concerned about the deficit.
Here's where we stand right now, just as a little bit of perspective on this. The monthly interest on the national debt today is $67.5 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Monthly.
Sounds like a lot.
Defense spending in the United States is $71.1 billion monthly. At this rate, at the rate of acceleration that it's going at, the U.S. government is going to be spending more on servicing the debt than on defense within the next 6 to 12 months, depending on exactly how things progress. To, again, put this in perspective, if you go back to, 2010, the U.S. government was spending about $18 billion a month servicing the deficit and about $60 billion a month on defense. It was a 3-to-1 ratio, and generally for most of the last decade or so, it's been kind of between a 2-to-1 and 4-to-1 ratio. They're now set to be even, and pretty soon interest on the deficit will surpass defense spending. So what this means is ultimately, hey, in order to still spend the same amount on the projects that you have, you either have to run higher deficits or add more tax revenue. Now, let's talk about what the two parties are proposing in terms of, hey, here are the big financial proposals being talked about. The Biden administration is talking about giving first-time home buyers, was it $400 a month or something like that to support their mortgage or something along those lines.
Didn't see that one.
Oh, you didn't see that one?
No. Seems like a bad idea.
Yes, when you don't increase the supply of housing, but you increase money towards housing, what's it do? It pushes the price up. It doesn't actually make housing cheaper. So that's dumb.
Feels cheaper, though.
The Trump administration is saying, hey, if we come into office, we are going to cut taxes further and not make any adjustments on the revenue side of things. Also not great.
Yeah.
Hey, we won't cut Social Security. Okay, great. You're going to end up with bigger deficits either way, which is, by the way, the same place that these two parties have been in for the last 25 years. Now, I'm on record as saying, look, running a surplus is dumb at the federal level. running a surplus at any level, quite honestly, is dumb. Because unlike a household, what a surplus means, let's say that you're listening and your town is running a surplus. That means that your town is taking more money from its residents than it is spending. Why would you want to have higher taxes than what you are spending? It's dumb. What you do want to do is be pretty close to a balanced budget in most cases. And the reason why is, look, you don't want a surplus because you don't want excess taxation. Excess taxation it's literally wasted money. It's like, let's take money away from people and then just put it in the bank. It's not really useful.
You could save for a rainy day. I mean, we've had Massachusetts saying that they want to put money away for the rainy day fund in the past.
That's fine. Okay, you can always raise taxes in the future instead of putting it in a rainy day fund.
True.
I'd rather have the potential for higher taxes in the future than higher taxes now.
Yeah.
But what you do want to have is a situation where you're not spending so much on your debt that you are crowding out your ability to spend on other programs. Now, this means something at the federal level, but like at state levels and county levels and town levels, it means more because your town can't print money. You can't walk into, Wellesley Town Hall or Bedford Town Hall or, Portsmouth Town Hall and say, hey, print me some of those good Portsmouth dollars. You can't do it. It's just not how it works. Now, at the federal level, you can. And the question is, is this good or bad for who? Because there are multiple constituencies here. Now, markets, let's talk about this. In a world in which you are just throwing money out there, just print. In what world does that lead to markets collapsing? The answer is it doesn't.
Not if the answer is print.
And I often resist the calls to, compare the U.S. to Argentina, but I'm going to invoke Argentina just as an example. When countries do what, like, Argentina has done, historically, where it's like, we just, throw a bunch of money at the it's not something that kills markets, because if you're just printing money, it ends up going somewhere. We've seen this in the last couple of years even. What it does do is it kills real purchasing power, and that's bad for families. But it's not something where you say, stocks are down because, we printed too much money. No, stocks usually go up because of printing too much money. What stops it then is rising, when you raise interest rates to stop the inflation caused by it, and then that's, kind of the bad part. But, again, I kind of take issue with this first premise here, which is, hey, are markets worrying about the deficit as a threat to them? Well, if they are, it's not being reflected in any action.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what they are meaning to say by this article because, yes, certainly at any point in time, you can go find somebody who is worth a lot of money who's worried about deficits. And that seems the best that CNBC has been able to do with this article is say, well, we found this guy and he's concerned about deficits. I share those concerns, but to go out and say that you're seeing it realized in any sort of real area of this economy, stock market, or political lives is just false. It's just false. And realistically, where this leads to future problems, I mean, one, hypothetically, do we get to a point where other foreign nations start to doubt the paying ability of the United States government? That's a real problem. But I think where it comes down to is eventually the politics of certain situations is at some point we will have another deep recession followed by deep unemployment. And if the political will at that point of time is not there to borrow and spend at that point in time when that's when it's actually needed, right? In March of 2020, when nobody has a job, you need the borrowing and spending to lift the economy out. In fall of 2008, when the banks are falling apart, those are, at least by most people's premise, the intelligent time to run massive deficits. When inflation's running nearly 10% and unemployment's under 4%, spending like it's going out of style is a stupid time to be doing so.
It's not the time to be running 6% deficits right now. It's the time to be running 1% to 2% deficits. And also, that's how you make this sustainable. Think of it this way. Ultimately, what matters is not how much debt you have, but how much income you have to service said debt. Now, in the United States, when we look at this at a national level, you're talking about GDP, because that is basically the
National
income that fuels, the ability to do so. If GDP nominally, remember, nominal is, hey, what the, stated growth is plus inflation. Okay, so basically, not adjusting for inflation. And that's running about 5 to 5.5% right now. So the way to grow out of this is to only be borrowing 1 to 2%. And so your debt is growing 1 to 2, but the economy's growing nominally, 5 to 6. Okay, that means that each year your debt to GDP ratio is going down by 3 to 4%. And that's how you get there. You don't get it by being like, hey, nominally we're growing at 6%, we're going to borrow 6%. Great, that doesn't help you. That means you're treading water at a time where you should be banking money. It's like I tell people, when you on a personal level, when things are really, really good, that's when you got to be saving. Because there will be a time where, things aren't good and you lose your job or something happens, and then you need to rely on that savings. It's kind of the same thing from a debt perspective when you look at, the national deficit. Hey, when the economy's cranking and unemployment's at 3.9, you better be, reducing that debt to GDP. I'm not saying you actually have to reduce the deficit, because that's kind of a fundamental misunderstanding of how things work at a sovereign level. But you do need to get debt down as a percentage of GDP, because we all know there's going to be a recession at some point. Might be this year, might be next year, might be 10 years from now. But that's when you need that ammo to say, yep, we're ready to go. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, the Wall Street Journal says that the U.S. finally has a strategy to compete with China. Will it work? We'll talk about that when we come back.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might cultural dance performances and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
A recent report from LawDepot.com says that only 3 out of every 10 adults in the U.S. have taken the time to create an estate plan. Don't be a member of that group. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. A sound estate plan can give you control over your assets and peace of mind as you enter your retirement years. Our new guide is called Leaving a Financial Legacy, and in it, we look at estate planning from a financial perspective. It's important to have a strategy that addresses your investment portfolio and all of your holdings, including real estate. We'll also focus on other issues, such as how to manage long-term care expenses that may affect you down the road. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001, or you can also request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Are you looking to volunteer for an amazing nonprofit organization that helps our veterans? The DAV Department of Massachusetts Transportation Network needs volunteers right now. This network provides free transportation to and from any VA medical appointment for veterans of all eras. To become a volunteer driver, you do not need to be a veteran or a DAV member. You just need to have the willingness to help our veterans and have a valid driver's license. Sign up now at davma.org. That's davma.org.
There are crucial mistakes you can make during the estate planning process that may have a damaging effect on your financial strategy. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. Get yours today and make the right decisions to protect your assets. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange Show podcast drops every day on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. You're listening to the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange has built an incredible partnership with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We can't wait to take part in this year's DAV 5K, set for Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence on Castle Island. And registration's now open. You can help our great American heroes by walking, running, or simply making a donation. Your gifts will support services such as the Veteran Advancement Program, which offers permanent and affordable housing opportunities for veterans and their dependents. Learn more at dav5k.boston. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
Mike, there's a piece here in the Wall Street Journal. The United States finally has a strategy to compete with China. What is that strategy?
Well, it's a strategy of implementing tariffs, security restrictions, and tech subsidies. So tariffs, we're all familiar with the process there, started in 2018 under the Trump administration, continuing through the Biden administration. The security restrictions would be all sorts of technology export restrictions, as well as, the TikTok ban is the perfect example of a security restriction. And then finally, the tech subsidies. Go take a look at anything in the semiconductor or drive through northern Phoenix right now, and you'll see the tech subsidies. So I would say that it seems to me that there may be a coherent strategy when in regards to China. What I don't see is an end goal.
That's the question I was going to ask. So this piece, the headline asks, will it work? Well, how are we defining work?
Yeah.
What
That's where
does
I
that
landed
mean?
Too. Like, if maybe the end goal, as defined at least by the journal here, is to just compete more thoroughly with China. It doesn't sound like the end goal to me, right? But I don't know what it is. Like, in the Cold War, it was pretty clear. The end goal was, we don't want to see the continued spread of communism. We want the Soviet Union to collapse and go into a different form of government. Right, wrong, and different. That seems to me like, in hindsight,
mission accomplished.
That was the goal. I don't know that anybody is looking for a change of politics in
States' policy towards China. I think if I were trying to define it, and by the way, there are people who spend way more time on this than I do and are way smarter than I am, so they're probably going to listen and be like, let's hear how Chuck's wrong on this. I think, number one, you want to, yes, create a more level playing field, but I think beyond that, it's trying to create an environment where China is incentivized to play by the rules instead of by their own rules. Because that takes care of a lot of the potential abuses that are out there.
So the evidence that you'd be looking there for would be more respect of intellectual property rules, no further allegations of slave labor. There's a number of benchmarks that I'd be looking at for those types of
state
things.
subsidies, dumping of excess product and things along. All those things kind of fall into that category from an economic perspective. From a security and military perspective, quite honestly, I don't think that you are going to get the level of cooperation that you necessarily want, because China does want to significantly expand that footprint, and that's something that they can then use, to enforce the rules that they play by. Remember, when we ultimately look at the United States and where it stands in the world today, there's one entity and one entity alone that I think is largely responsible for getting it to where it is over the last, 80 years, kind of in the post-World War II period, and that's the U.S. Navy. Like, people don't realize what the U.S. Navy's real job is most of the time, and ultimately what it is to make sure that commerce can happen over long distances at sea where most stuff actually gets shipped. That is really the promise of the United States in today's economic world. It's, hey, we will allow for free and fair shipping to occur, and in return, we will provide, we'll provide that defense. But you're going to send a bunch of stuff to us, is kind of how it's worked out over the last 50, 60 years.
I'm just thinking of kind of a fourth leg of this stool that seems to be completely missing from this article, which is all of these things are a great pronounced strategy to have. But if other nations around the world aren't also implementing those three stools, then it's kind of useless. I mean, not entirely, because the United States remains the largest economy in the world and will be for some time. But if instead China's able to just dump all their products on European Union and India, which it doesn't seem likely they're going to be able to do so in India, but Europe's definitely more up for grabs, then it's kind of a failed policy.
There are two countries that really matter. It's Germany and India.
Yeah.
As Germany goes, as they decide, so will the rest of the EU. And India, being this potentially ascendant power that isn't closely tied into either the Chinese or U.S. ecosystems, it's kind of up for grabs in terms of what direction they end up going in over the next 15 or 20 years. But I have been adamant that if I were the Biden administration, man, I would be trying to develop inroads there, because being able to use India, there are ways that both countries can benefit, but for the United States at least, being able to use India as a bulwark for Chinese expansion throughout, that region, my goodness. It's very intriguing to me, as you can tell. Let's take a quick break. Wall Street Watch is next.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Proper estate planning is crucial to you being able to enjoy your later years. And it may be the difference between retiring comfortably or living under incredible financial pressure. Creating an estate plan can be a difficult process if you aren't working with an expert who will make sure that your plan is secure. Cushing & Dolan can help. Call them today at 866-848-5699. Estate planning is their business, and they have a new guide out this month called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. Don't put your assets at risk and open yourself up to severe tax consequences. Even if you already have a plan, this guide may help you correct an issue that could come back to bite you in the years to come. Call right now, 866-848-5699, and get your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have debt destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might just make it in time for the St. Croix Mango Melee on July 7th. The family-friendly event offers food demonstrations and tastings, cultural dance performances, and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
A recent report from LawDepot.com says that only 3 out of every 10 adults in the U.S. have taken the time to create an estate plan. Don't be a member of that group. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. A sound estate plan can give you control over your assets and peace of mind as you enter your retirement years. Our new guide is called Leaving a Financial Legacy, and in it, we look at estate planning from a financial perspective. It's important to have a strategy that addresses your investment portfolio and all of your holdings, including real estate. We'll also focus on other issues, such as how to manage long-term care expenses that may affect you down the road. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001, or you can also request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you looking to volunteer for an amazing nonprofit organization that helps our veterans? The DAV Department of Massachusetts Transportation Network needs volunteers right now. This network provides free transportation to and from any VA medical appointment for veterans of all eras. To become a volunteer driver, you do not need to be a veteran or a DAV member. You just need to have the willingness to help our veterans and have a valid driver's license. Sign up now at davma.org. That's davma.org.
There are crucial mistakes you can make during the estate planning process that may have a damaging effect on your financial strategy. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. Get yours today and make the right decisions to protect your assets. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are in positive territory to begin the week as Wall Street saw the Dow close above 40,000 for the first time on Friday. This week, traders will be monitoring speeches from several Fed officials slated to speak throughout the week, in addition to more first quarter earnings from the likes of Lowe's and Nvidia and much, much more. Right now, the Dow is up by 49 points. S&P 500 is up over 1/3%. Or 18 points, and the NASDAQ is up by 2/3%. Russell 2000 is up by about 1/4%. 10-year Treasury yield is up by 2 basis points at 4.4%. And crude oil is up about 1/4% higher, trading at $80.26 a barrel. Apple up by about 1% after Reuters reported that the tech giant is implementing aggressive discounts on its iPhones in China of up to $318 on select iPhone models. Meanwhile, Li Auto shares down by 13% after the Chinese electric vehicle maker posted weaker than expected earnings for the first quarter and disappointing guidance for current quarter revenue. Elsewhere, Morgan Stanley upgraded Micron Technology to equal weight from underweight, where the bank said it had underestimated the economic and narrative elements of AI memory. Micron up by about 4%, And Red Lobster has officially filed for bankruptcy, where the company said restructuring is the best path forward, with hopes of finding a buyer. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
Devastating.
I guess the shrimp have ended.
Happy Gilmore will not be meeting you later at Red Lobster. Or no,
No,
sorry.
that was Sizzler.
No,
Was it Sizzler?
It's Red Lobster.
They mentioned both, Sizzler and Red Lobster,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's not Happy Gilmore, obviously. It is Shooter McGavin, who he's going to meet at Red Lobster later.
Now, what movie has the quote, "We go in Sizzler"?
I don't know.
We go in Sizzler.
No idea.
You guys have never seen White Men Can't Jump?
No, haven't
Yeah.
seen that one.
Wait, you have?
And I don't remember We Go in Sizzler. It's been a long time. Yeah.
Is that the closest you've come to watching an actual basketball game?
It is, yeah.
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 Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about college graduates. First of all, congratulations to everyone who graduated
over the
last weekend.
Yeah.
And I know there are a few more that are upcoming in the next couple of weeks. So thank you, Tucker.
job.
A big congratulations. Look, it's not easy to get through college at this point, especially given what the last 4 or 5 years have looked like in a lot of colleges. It's been a little different from normal. So
Yeah, good for you.
I do think it's something that deserves some real respect because it's not easy.
Glad you got to walk across the stage and do an actual graduation this year as opposed to 4 years ago when you graduated high school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. Piece from the Financial Times. America's class of 2024 graduates into an uncertain job market.
Nope.
Baloney.
This graduating class has faced and will face many challenges. A tough or uncertain job market is not one of them.
I want to tell you all about when I graduated. It was 2009. The world had basically fallen apart. Unemployment was on its way to 10%. Many of the people who I graduated with, the job offers that they had were not worth the paper they were printed on because the companies were no longer in business anymore. You might have heard of some of them. Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers. You might be familiar with those names. That is not today. So it's not to diminish that, hey, you've got to find a job after college because you do. But to say, if you are going to say that this is an uncertain job market, then
Every labor market is uncertain.
Then I give up.
Yeah, every job market, by definition, is uncertain, right? Nobody graduates college with a 100% degree of certainty as to what the job offer they are going to have is. But to call this one uncertain when we are literally facing, what do you think, like a top 5% ever labor markets in modern history in the United States?
Yes.
Like, it's among the best we've ever seen. So tell me about the problems. There are problems that this class will have because, yeah, I'm certain that first job offer is going to make it pretty difficult for you to afford rent or to ever get a mortgage at these prices. Like, lots of real problems that you might face as a 21 or 22-year-old entering the adult world right now. I have a really tough time relating to an uncertain job market. But let me tell you about the stat that they wanted to highlight here as being uncertain. According to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, who I'm hesitant to quote because I've never heard of them.
You're not familiar with NACE?
I am not familiar with NACE or the data that they have been surveying employers on since 2015. But according to them, U.S. employers will cut their hiring of freshly minted graduates by 5.8%. And likewise, they also cite BLS data that shows that the unemployment rate for graduates aged 20 to 24 with bachelor's degrees rose from 4.2% to 5% most recently. But again, for anyone that graduated around the Great Recession or the dot-com bubble or 2020, this shouldn't be a terribly big concern that the 20 to 24 unemployment rate for college grads is 5%.
No, it's been worse.
It's been far, far worse in not so distant history. So I really had to check myself there because I had a moment of back in my day. But man, this shouldn't be the concern that people are talking about.
No, if you get this concerned about things when they look like they do now, you're going to lose your mind when they get worse because, quite honestly, The only place that most employment statistics can go right now is worse.
Right.
We're pretty.
It's tough to envision it getting tighter than it already is.
It's not going to get tighter unless you want inflation to go up to however many percent. It's not where we are. The other thing, and I've said this before, if you are a college graduate, like a recent college grad and listening right now, first, thank your parents for listening to us, and not for college, but for listening to us. And second, your first job is supposed to suck. Not in that, like, it shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to work for anyone abusive or anyone like that, or anyone that's, creating an environment that's just horrible to work at. But as a new employee, it's important to realize that you are ultimately tasked with doing the things that no one else wants to do.
You are the bottom of the totem pole.
And
you're there to learn.
And again, you don't want anyone to be, like, abusing that privilege. And, like, I don't think that, like, people are like, oh, like, you should, like, do my dry cleaning. No, like, that stuff's dumb. But my first job out of college was at Armstrong Advisory Group, but I was freaking licking envelopes at the front desk, coming in on weekends to answer phone calls. Like, I was doing the stuff no one wanted to do.
Almost ended up like George Costanza's fiance. It's close.
Almost, yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of envelopes. It's a lot of envelopes, I got to tell you. But your first job is not supposed to be this glamorous thing where you're like, oh, like, I'm on my path to changing the world or this and that. It's supposed to be doing the crap that no one else wants to do. And if you do it well and you show up and you show you can do a little bit more, that's how you eventually get to that next place. So don't expect, even if you don't get the perfect job right away, it's fine. Like, you're still going to get there. It's just you got to start from the bottom.
Yeah. There's another piece from Wall Street Journal about how computer science majors are graduating to a world with, maybe a mismatch there in terms of the state of tech right now versus the expanding number of computer science majors. But again, I just think of, like, how many people with a law degree did you know in 2008 who were having a tough time finding a job delivering pizzas?
Mike, how many how many articles were written about how the millennials were never going to have the opportunities that other generations had? And now, like, we write about the millennials like, oh, like, these wealthy millennial families moving to the suburbs.
Mm-hmm. Home ownership rates match exactly where they were during previous generations now. Like,
things can change in, a decade. It's like you're not locked into where you were at this point in time. So things might get worse, then they might get better. You don't know, but
just know what to complain about, right? Like, if you want to, if you're looking for a willing listener, and you're graduating college right now, probably don't complain about the labor market. Definitely complain about inflation. Complain about the cost of college. Complain about, or don't complain at all. But if you're looking for somebody to actually be able to relate to your concerns, the state of the labor market, you're just going to be laughed off stage.
I'll be honest about the complaining. It's not a productive use of your time.
No,
you have to figure out what's going on, and you change course and adjust if you need to. That's ultimately going to get you where you want to go much better than just complaining about it. Complaining about it is our job as radio hosts.
Yeah, might be cathartic, but it's not gonna help anything.
Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what is going on in the home renovation market right after this.
Miss any of the show? The Financial Exchange Show podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
A recent report from LawDepot.com says that only 3 out of every 10 adults in the U.S. have taken the time to create an estate plan. Don't be a member of that group. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. A sound estate plan can give you control over your assets and peace of mind as you enter your retirement years. Our new guide is called Leaving a Financial Legacy, and in it, we look at estate planning from a financial perspective. It's important to have a strategy that addresses your investment portfolio and all of your holdings, including real estate. We'll also focus on other issues, such as how to manage long-term care expenses that may affect you down the road. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001, or you can also request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Creating the right estate plan to help secure your future takes effort. There are plenty of mistakes that you can make, any one of which could have a dramatic and damaging effect on your financial strategy. Cushing & Dolan are experts in estate planning. Their brand new guide is called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. In it, you'll learn about these critical errors so that you can make the right decisions to always protect your assets. As an example, if you've created a trust more than 10 years ago and haven't updated it since, you're setting yourself up for problems. Cushing & Dolan's new guide will help you address issues like this. So call right now, 866-848-5699, and ask for your copy of our new free guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online from their website, legalexchangeshow.com. That's legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might just make it in time for the St. Croix Mango Melee on July 7th. The family-friendly event offers food demonstrations and tastings, cultural dance performances, and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Are you looking to volunteer for an amazing nonprofit organization that helps our veterans? The DAV Department of Massachusetts Transportation Network needs volunteers right now. This network provides free transportation to and from any VA medical appointment for veterans of all eras. To become a volunteer driver, you do not need to be a veteran or a DAV member. You just need to have the willingness to help our veterans and have a valid driver's license. Sign up now at davma.org. That's davma.org.
There are crucial mistakes you can make during the estate planning process that may have a damaging effect on your financial strategy. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. Get yours today and make the right decisions to protect your assets. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Business and financial news affecting the markets and your wallet. We've got it all straight from Wall Street right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, Mike, let's talk a little bit about Trex. They are the company that makes the composite boards for decks. I think they're the biggest name out there that I know of, at least.
They're almost like the Google or Uber of the industry.
And they are boosting their manufacturing capacity significantly. They're also rolling out new lines of more premium decking. And it's kind of a counterintuitive move because the deck renovation period was like 2021 and 2022. And so they're doing this at a time where the demand isn't necessarily showing up today. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we heard from Home Depot last week. We're going to hear from Lowe's this week on what they are seeing in the home improvement space. But the messaging from Home Depot was that there's a bit of a standstill right now. People aren't doing big projects because the cost of borrowing or because they don't want to be in the home long term. But they're also not buying new homes for a lot of the same reasons. And so Home Depot, not as though they're seeing devastating sales. I think that their same-store sales were flat or maybe down by 1%. But you have to keep in mind, too, I mean, I would assume that it takes a little while to get a manufacturing plant of composite wood up and running. I don't think this is an overnight type story. And I don't think I would be surprised by seeing an uptick in activity 12, 24 months from now when some of those that logjam, I guess, in decision making starts to come to an end, right? I do not see this as a permanent thing, right? Either that person that's hesitant to put a new deck on the back of their home is either going to eventually put on that deck or sell their home and buy something else, in which case somebody else is going to put on that deck. So it might be stalled right now, but I don't know that you can look at this and say, oh, what a terrible time for Trex to be investing in a new manufacturing plant.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might just make it in time for the St. Croix Mango Melee on July 7th. The family-friendly event offers food demonstrations, tastings, cultural dance performances, and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean Paradise is waiting for you, so head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Mike, in Massachusetts, one of the big things that has been talked about at just about every town meeting that is anywhere near a rail line is the MBTA communities law.
Or bus, or pretty much anything that's serviced by the MBTA. And the communities law is the new rule that went into place across Massachusetts requiring towns to zone for more dense housing in areas that are serviced by the MBTA.
And what you're seeing is that what towns are actually doing is following the letter of the law, but not the intent of the law. And so what a lot of them are doing is, hey, if you already have, multifamily buildings in your town, they are simply zoning those areas for larger multifamily buildings, but they already exist there, and so nothing's necessarily going to be built because you already have an occupied multifamily building on the site.
Yeah, I believe, by the way, that Needham did exactly this. So Needham, Massachusetts is serviced by 3 or 4 commuter rail stops. And the rule basically dictates that, a certain quantity of multifamily zoning has to be available in the area serviced by the MBTA. I don't think it says that you have to create much new multifamily zoning. It just says you have to have this much. And in Needham, it was pretty much already there. Same goes for a town called Norwood, a few towns over, where, it's already there, and so we just have to designate it as such, meet the requirements, and check the box. And I guess, quite honestly, I don't really see the problem, other than the fact that it's severely underestimating how much new zoning was going to be created and how much new housing was going to be created here. But if you are in one of those towns that has already met the requirements of this rule and you already have some dense housing serviced by the MBTA, then you're kind of already in compliance, and I get why you're not dramatically changing anything. What I take bigger issue with is all these towns that, say they want cheaper housing and then aren't willing to actually do anything to back that up.
No one actually wants cheaper housing.
No, they don't.
Actually, I'll rephrase that. People who already live in homes that they own or have borrowed against don't want cheaper housing in the aggregate.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. I understand why it crops up, because for the vast majority of households that own homes, that home is the bulk of their assets in a lot of cases. And so they don't want to see that depleted because of more construction. Yes, you always get the concerns about traffic and this and that and everything, but newsflash, the traffic's bad. That's just kind of how it is. If you want to, improve that, the way to do so is actually through more thoughtful construction of your cities and towns, so that maybe you don't need to hop in a car in order to go places, which, hey, things like building near rail helps to improve traffic. But this is the world that we live in, and unfortunately, I don't think that we are doing things to address the housing cost and traffic issues in an efficient way, because people are resistant to change. Like, we don't like new things. I get it. I understand. Like, I don't like new things either.
It's a problem across New England. The piece of it that concerns me is the long-term impact, right? I mean, talk to people today, we're talking about graduation, right? Talk to people who have 20, 22-year-olds graduating right now and those kids' plans for getting a job and living somewhere in New England. It's like, what are my prospects? How much do I need to earn to go live, not even in the nicest Boston area? Like, how much do I need to earn to have a roommate in Somerville? Yeah. Even any place in Somerville, you're probably talking well over $50,000 minimum, assuming you don't have a whole bunch of student loans.
$50,000 for what?
For your annual salary.
Got it.
To be able to afford.
I was like, I can buy a place in Somerville for well over $50,000. That sounds great.
That's a closet.
To earn a salary of well over $50,000, even to live with a roommate somewhere in Somerville, which again, a decade or two ago was considered the cheap discount place to live and commute to Boston.
Let's take a quick break here. We still got more to come in the rest of the show, including a little bit of chatter about how AI could change our lives and also Social Security's biggest myth. All that and more in hour 2 in just a bit.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today we're talking about the top estate planning mistakes to avoid. Todd, what is the downside of adding your kids to your accounts or adding their names to your real estate deeds as a joint owner? Won't this avoid probate?
You're absolutely right. It would avoid probate, but there are better ways to avoid probate than just doing something simple, right? Simple isn't always better. Throwing a name on an account or adding a designated beneficiary or a joint owner on a piece of property might not be the best way to go. Here's the problem. If you name one of your children as a joint owner and you have 3 children and you put that child on just because it's convenient and they're geographically close to you, well, you could be accidentally disinheriting your other children because this property, this asset will only go to that child. That child doesn't have to give it to the other kids. So that's a problem. And if you put your name, if you add a child's name to your real estate, now you're exposing it to that child's creditors, that child's potential divorces. That's never good. And plus, you've lost control over it. If you try to sell it, you need that kid's permission, and half the money would go to that kid. Please, folks, set up a trust, fund your trust much better than just trying to do it shorthanded and just give away assets or adding names to accounts.
Todd Lutzke and the estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have written a brand new guide that details the estate planning blunders to avoid. You can request this brand new guide by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
See you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might just make it in time for the St. Croix Mango Melee on July 7th. The family-friendly event offers food demonstrations and tastings, cultural dance performances, and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the tax relief line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to 0. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to 0 due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
Are you looking to volunteer for an amazing nonprofit organization that helps our veterans? The DAV Department of Massachusetts Transportation Network needs volunteers right now. This network provides free transportation to and from any VA medical appointment for veterans of all eras. To become a volunteer driver, you do not need to be a veteran or a DAV member. You just need to have the willingness to help our veterans and have a valid driver's license. Sign up now at davma.org. That's davma.org.
There are crucial mistakes you can make during the estate planning process that may have a damaging effect on your financial strategy. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. Get yours today and make the right decisions to protect your assets. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699 or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Leaving a Financial Legacy. Mike, one of the biggest assets that any family owns is typically the primary residence. How do you have to navigate how to leave that to the next generation?
Well, sure, and important because unlike, say, a bank account where you can leave a child as a beneficiary, that's not really possible with a home. And so, sometimes at least having just a basic estate plan, which according to a report from lawdepot.com, 73% of U.S. adults don't have a documented estate plan. But, that's the starting point here is developing an estate plan for your assets after you go.
Other things that you got to keep in mind, I think, hey, if you have multiple children, is there one that wants to inherit that home? And how do you balance that with the other assets that you might have so that children are being treated fairly?
Yeah, there's all sorts of concerns here, right? As I age, what if I end up in a nursing home? How do I protect some of that stuff? And let me just tell you, it is an area that has a high propensity for mistakes when it comes to how to handle your personal real estate, especially later in life. So definitely something to be aware of. Keep an eye on understanding not only the tax consequences of one action or another, but also the legal consequences of one action or another.
The guide is titled Leaving a Financial Legacy, and there are 2 ways that you can request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by going to armstrongadvisory.com. Again, it's titled Leaving a Financial Legacy. You can request it at armstrongadvisory.com or by calling 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor that provides investment advisory services. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else, and do not guarantee profit. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
A little bit after 11 here, and markets continue to rally. We've got the Dow up another 40 points to 40,049. It's exciting. S&P 500 hitting a new intraday all-time high at 5321, up 18 points. And the NASDAQ up 99 points to 16,785. 10-year U.S. Treasury up 2 basis points to 4.44%. We've got oil down 8 cents to 79.98 on West Texas Intermediate. AAA national average for gas prices down 1/10 of a cent, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
3.59 even. Feels good to get that 1/10 of a cent, down. It's a big one for me.
Right ahead of Memorial Day weekend.
And I know, very exciting. And we've got gold up $9 an ounce to $24.26 and 20 cents. Mike, are you referred to as the godfather of anything?
No. Oh, wait, yes. I am.
Of what?
A niece.
There you go.
Yeah.
Other than a human being,
no.
Are you referred to as the godfather of anything?
No.
Tucker, you?
No.
I'm not either.
Can't say that I am.
But in this piece from the BBC, there is a computer scientist who's regarded as the godfather of artificial intelligence. And his name is Professor Jeffrey Hinton. And I'll just give a couple quotes here. He said, I was consulted by the people in Downing Street being the seat of the Prime Minister of the UK. And he said, I was consulted by the people in Downing Street, and I advised them that universal basic income was a good idea as it related to AI. He felt that while AI would increase productivity and wealth, the money would go to the rich and not to the people whose jobs get lost, and that's going to be very bad for society. So, fascinating topic, actually. If you had a world in which one person could wake up every morning and push a button and everything gets done, how do you make sure that you are having resources distributed the way they should be? And what they should be? Like these are some of the big existential questions that we don't really get to tackle very often.
Because I think his point is that under our current form, which is, basically across the Western world, quasi-capitalism, that, if it's going the way that Professor Hinton thinks it will, that the majority of the benefits would go to, let's say, Sundar Pichai and shareholders in Microsoft. And that might not be the best thing for income and wealth distribution across the world. I don't know. Tough to prove a negative there, but I would hypothetically buy that. Where I push back is that artificial intelligence alone is going to be the piece that causes that. I mean, we've been seeing continued wealth and income distribution now for across the Western world for the last, I think, 30 or 40 years is about what we have seen there. And so the question would be, does AI bring us to a breaking point on that, and what is the appropriate solution to it? But I guess more than other technologies, I can see how AI would cause further wealth distribution.
Now, he also has some other interesting thoughts. I want to just set the table with all this here. He also said that my guess is in between 5 and 20 years from now, there's a probability of 50% that we'll have to confront the problem of AI trying to take over that could lead to an extinction level event for humans because we have created a form of intelligence that is just better than biological intelligence, and that's very worrisome for us. What I'm most concerned about is when these can autonomously make the decision to kill people. And one of the things that the DoD has been testing that they publicized actually is, hey, give an AI a list of potential, military targets and have it suggest which ones should be hit.
Yeah.
So, there are a few different things wrapped up in here. The first is, let's say that we get to a point where autonomous systems can do 99% of the work that we do today. I'm not saying that we're there, but let's
99's extreme. Can we start at like 20?
Okay, fine. Let's say that they can do 20% of the work that we do today. Which 20% of the work is going to get done first?
The easiest 20?
Yes. Probably the lowest paying 20.
Yep.
Also. It's going to be a much bigger leap of faith for us to say, yep, my next, bypass surgery, I'm handing off to the AI.
Yeah.
We're going to say, no, make my Happy Meal with the AI. Because there's just less at stake. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. So you're talking about, that lowest 20% of wage earners in many cases, or, even probably just, a smattering across kind of bottom 50% of wage earners,
Sure.
call it almost half of them being displaced from their jobs.
Okay.
That is a group that very likely, because of, again, how easy it is to replace with AI, likely does not have the skills in many cases to move up to simply, get a new job doing something else. So what do we do in that situation?
I don't know. I know what we've done historically. I mean, this is a very different situation, but that exact thing that we're describing is kind of what happened with American manufacturing talent.
And it's fair to say that we did a pretty bad job dealing with that.
Agreed.
Because we ended up with a bunch of hollowed out communities that have been, ravaged in many cases by, addiction problems and stuff from, just jobs that have been lost and centers of activity that have been lost.
Yeah. So go, core American manufacturing towns, core American coal mining towns, not
long, sad stories of how we haven't done anything to help those communities.
It wasn't really technology driven, but similar overall impact, right? Jobs disappeared. They were good paying jobs, reasonably good paying jobs, but by a group of people who did not have broad education to be able to go back and reinvest in a different type of work.
And we did very little to help them.
Agreed.
And those towns are just hollowed out, very sad places in a number of cases now. Mm-hmm. And this has the potential to be something that's coming for us more broadly. So when we talk about this idea of universal basic income, if you've been living under a rock, basic premise of it is, hey, regardless of whether or not you have a job, we are going to pay you X dollars per month in order to live. In this scenario, I'm not saying broadly. In this scenario, good idea, bad idea, or ugly idea?
Maybe better than doing nothing. Has a lot of potential pitfalls.
What are other ideas that we can kick around here? What are the other options that we have? People suggest, job retraining. Well, okay, here's the problem with job retraining. We're not very good at that. Let's be honest. We're not very good at simply teaching large groups of people new skills to move into a new job for two reasons. The first is finding large groups of people that are motivated to learn exactly what you're trying to teach them.
Yeah.
They might not all want to go and do whatever you're trying to teach. Second piece is identifying what you should be teaching them. If you're teaching them something that, is based on, we have the knowledge and ability to do this, and this is what was popular 2 years ago, it might not be where the jobs are in the future.
Yeah, the piece we covered before about the number of computer science grads graduating right now, with computer science graduates have increased some 40% over the last decade, and they're graduating into a labor market that might not need them in the same way that people previously thought that they would. And so, guessing what type of skills are going to be needed, I agree, is challenging. I've got plenty of other bad ideas, right? We could just try and kneecap the technology to not allow it to take over these jobs. That won't be successful. Big pitfalls to
and ultimately we want, this is going to sound really messed up at first, but I promise I'll make it not sound quite as messed up. We want technology to do more so there are fewer humans that have to do these things. Because ultimately, the biggest input for any company is the cost of its labor. And the question then becomes, okay, if we can improve this such that we are cutting that cost and improving productivity, like that's how you generate more wealth in a society, is by doing more with less. The problem we need to solve for is, well, how if you eventually get to the point where one person can push the button and run the factory for the day, what do you do with everyone that you fired? How do you make sure they can eat? And I don't have the answer for that. And I don't think any of us do.
Nope.
And I think it's fine for us to admit that we don't know what we don't know, and that we need to spend some time talking about this, because this is not a problem of, hey, all these, like, this is not like, oh, everyone's lazy and no one wants to work. This is, no, people want to work, and we have technology that's just going to do it better potentially. And you won't have that job anymore.
I'm with you on many of these parts, but I will also just echo something. And again, I'm willing to buy that AI is different this time. But this is the exact same argument that was made about the printing press, the cotton gin, the internet, and pretty much every piece of new emerging technology over the last, since the beginning of time, 2,000 years. So the question remains, is artificial intelligence different this time? And do we need a different set of tools to deal with it? And I also don't have the answer to that question.
You don't want to listen to The Godfather?
Yeah, I'll listen.
This is all we have to do. Again, I don't think any of us know exactly where this is going to go. And most of the time, by the way, as Mike said, yes, you have this technological progress. And as I like to point out often, when the printing press was invented, the Stone Tablet Carvers Union was probably all up in arms.
Yeah.
They said, yo, Gutenberg, you better chill with this.
Indeed they did.
It was written on the stone tablets.
Yep.
We saw it, actually. But ultimately, you want this kind of progress. It's how do we figure out how everything fits after is something we have to deal with. And the other thing that I will say, Mike, when we talk about a lot of those inventions that we've seen, it's easier for us to kind of gloss over and be like, oh, well, everything turned out fine.
Yeah,
but it didn't necessarily for the people who were affected directly by it.
Yep.
And that's something that we have to live through when it comes to AI here. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've got trivia, and then we're talking about Social Security's biggest myth right after this.
The latest news on inflation, the Fed, the economy, and how the markets are reacting every morning, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Creating the right estate plan to help secure your future takes effort. There are plenty of mistakes that you can make, any one of which could have a dramatic and damaging effect on your financial strategy. Cushing & Dolan are experts in estate planning. Their brand new guide is called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. In it, you'll learn about these critical errors so that you can make the right decisions to always protect your assets. As an example, if you've created a trust more than 10 years ago and haven't updated it since, you're setting yourself up for problems. Cushing & Dolan's new guide will help you address issues like this. So call right now, 866-848-5699, and ask for your copy of our new free guide called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might just make it in time for the St. Croix Mango Melee on July 7th. The family-friendly event offers food demonstrations and tastings, cultural dance performances, and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
If you want to leave behind a financial legacy for your family, you need a proper estate plan. Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. In our new monthly guide, we'll explore how and why the estate planning process is crucial to help you build a plan that will afford you comfort and peace of mind as you enter your retirement years. The guide is called Leaving a Financial Legacy, and in it, we'll unpack ways to create a plan that takes into account your entire investment portfolio and your business holdings, including real estate. We'll also explore strategies on how to mitigate your risk from long-term care costs, which could affect you in the future. Call right now at 800-393-4001 to request a copy of our new guide, Leaving a Financial Legacy. That's 800-393-4001, or request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you looking to volunteer for an amazing nonprofit organization that helps our veterans? The DAV Department of Massachusetts Transportation Network needs volunteers right now. This network provides free transportation to and from any VA medical appointment for veterans of all eras. To become a volunteer driver, you do not need to be a veteran or a DAV member. You just need to have the willingness to help our veterans and have a valid driver's license. Sign up now at davma.org. That's davma.org.
There are crucial mistakes you can make during the estate planning process that may have a damaging effect on your financial strategy. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. Get yours today and make the right decisions to protect your assets. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Miss any of the show? Catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange. On this date back in 2015, David Letterman concluded his 33-year run as a late-night talk show host with the final airing of Late Show with David Letterman. Going on David Letterman's show as a stand-up comedian was a big deal that could help launch a comic to stardom. The final stand-up comedian to appear on Letterman's show was one of his all-time favorites. The comic delivered a performance that is still talked about in comedy circles. Trivia question today: who was the final stand-up comedian to appear on Late Show with David Letterman? Once again, who is the final stand-up comedian to appear on Late Show with David Letterman? Be the seventh person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer. You can win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. That's 617-362-1385. And the seventh correct response will be our winner. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, just before we get to this Social Security piece, I did want to let you know that, well, actually, I'll pose this in the form of a question.
Ooh.
How many Fed speakers are scheduled to speak this week?
Do I need to pose my answer in the form of a question?
Yes.
I'm going... I did count this recently, so I'm kind of cheating, but I think it's 11.
Tucker?
8.
16.
16.
There's already been 5 today. There's 2 more before the end of the day.
Are you counting Jerome Powell's commencement address yesterday?
That is not in here because the week begins on Monday to finance markets.
Okay.
I am counting. There's a number of commencement addresses. There's a number of interviews on Bloomberg and or CNBC, so I include those. But 16 already today. Bostic was on Bloomberg, and then he gave welcome remarks to a group. Barr is giving a keynote speech today. Waller is giving remarks today. Jefferson is speaking on the economy and housing. Mester's on Bloomberg. They got 2 Bloombergs today. Mester's on at 2 p.m., and then Bostic's on again, moderating a keynote speech later on. Bostic's got 3 things today.
That's silly.
Can't y'all go do some work? Says the person talking on the radio.
Yeah, says the person talking for the next 2 hours. Yeah, hear you.
Social Security, the biggest myth that leads people to claim early. What is it, Mike?
That Social Security is going to get cut and run out because it's going to run out of money in, what did we say now, 12 years?
No, 10.
No, I think they extended to 26.
I don't think so.
No? That was the latest. That was the big thing that we covered like 2 weeks ago was the Social Security Administration's most recent projections. But maybe you're right that it just extended
I got
to 24.
35, so 11 years.
Okay. Yeah. In any
So, yeah,
case,
better than expected, but yeah.
the trust fund, the bucket of money that has been paid into by previous generations that is now being used to pay out benefits that are more than is being collected, is going to run dry sometime in 2035 and 2036. And if Congress did nothing, the way that the Social Security laws are written right now would be that everybody takes about a 19%. I think I've seen projections between 17 and 20% in terms of a haircut to their Social Security benefits, because that's what the rule states is we've set up this trust fund. If the trust fund runs dry, then that's presumably what happens.
So, Mike, let's suppose that I turn 65 in 2030. And I collect Social Security then.
Indeed.
When 5 years later, I'm age 70, how likely is it that I'm going to have to take a 17 to 20% haircut at that point?
Well, I have no way to measure that statistically or probability-wise, but if you want my personal opinion on how likely that is, I think about the same likelihood of you, maybe slightly more likely than you getting struck by lightning.
And here's why. It's not because the trust fund won't run out of money if we do nothing.
Most certainly
it will. It's because ultimately there is one demographic and one demographic only that loves to vote more than everyone else. And that's retirees. And the worst thing that you can do if you are the party in power heading into 2035 is just say, well, we tried. Good luck. Because those people will never vote for you again for the rest of their lives.
Probably not. Yeah.
And so even if the fix is, hey, you know what? We're not going to impact your Social Security at all, but those people who are in their 40s and 50s are going to have to pay more taxes, and we're going to reduce benefits for those in their 20s and 30s when they finally collect out. Like, that, there's some solution that ends up getting
Can we talk about the most likely solution, which is also probably the dumbest one in the short term at least?
Which one's that?
Congress just says, screw the trust fund, we're still going to pay you. They can do that.
They can do that.
They can just write a law that says, yeah, I know we don't have any more money in the trust fund, but print that stuff, Treasury, and give them the money.
They can do that.
Again, I'm not encouraging this. I think it's a really dumb idea. I think we should reform the program to make sure that it actually has money in it. But in the absence of that, does anybody look at the actions of Congress over the last 3 decades and think that anything other than just print the money and give it to them will be the answer?
Also, 62% of beneficiaries, according to a study from Schroders, claimed before their full retirement age. They took Social Security before their full retirement age.
Which is between 65 and 67, depending on how old you are.
The top reason that people claimed early was not because they needed the money, but because they were worried that the trust fund was going to run out of money.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
800-477-1736. 800-477-1736. That's 800-477-1736. Paid for by Legal Alert Line. We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might just make it in time for the St. Croix Mango Melee on July 7th. The family-friendly event offers food demonstrations and tastings, cultural dance performances, and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Leaving a Financial Legacy. Mike, one of the areas where we see a ton of confusion these days is with retirement accounts and leaving them to the next generation. It's just a complicated place right now.
Yeah, and to start, some retirement accounts were actually looked at by some as a really successful planning tool for generational planning, especially when you talk about Roth IRAs, for example. And the rules around that all changed just a few years ago. And so really understanding the taxation of these different assets is important when it comes to leaving a legacy.
When we talk about what goes into those retirement accounts, this has to be part of the thought as well in terms of minimizing taxation during your lifetime and that next generation's. You have to coordinate what's inside of them just to minimize the taxes during that time as well.
Yeah, so from that perspective, you have non-taxable assets like a Roth IRA. You have taxable assets that generate a 1099 every year. You've got traditional IRAs and 401ks. All of these have very different rules in terms of how they're treated, but the biggest change had to do with retirement accounts, specifically 401ks and Roths, and the rules that impact beneficiaries of those assets. And so if you're trying to utilize them as a legacy plan, important that you understand the new rules.
Our guide is titled Leaving a Financial Legacy, and there are 2 ways you can request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by going to ArmstrongAdvisory.com. That phone number again is 800-393-4001, or you can request it at ArmstrongAdvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia question today was, who was the final stand-up comedian to appear on Late Show with David Letterman? That would be Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald was one of Letterman's favorite guests and stand-up comedians over the years. Norm appeared on Letterman's show 25 times and was handpicked by Letterman to be the final stand-up performance on his late night talk show. Janet from Salem, Connecticut is the winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. And we play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. Tune in tomorrow for your chance to win. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Mike, let's talk a little bit about 401k loans. And there's a piece in the Wall Street Journal that says when to treat your 401k like a bank and when to keep it locked up. And I think it's a topic that doesn't get discussed enough about how they actually work.
Yeah, and those are two... those are not opposites of each other. Like, I would say never treat your 401k as a bank, but it can, on occasions, make sense to take a 401k loan. I was actually surprised. 13% of people with 401k accounts had loans against those retirement savings accounts at the end of last year. If you're not familiar with how this works, you can generally take a loan of, I think it's a max of $50,000 from your 401k. When you do so, the money doesn't get invested anymore. You have to pay yourself back interest. And why that becomes a particularly bad deal ultimately is, yes, you are paying yourself interest, but you're taking the money out and then you're having to basically take money that you've paid taxes on, right? So think about it.
Sure.
You get paid your salary and you've got this loan on your 401k. That means you have to take your net income after taxes and pay money back into a 401k that you will be eventually taxed on again when the money comes back out.
Yeah.
So it can be quite troublesome. The other piece that I think in terms of big pitfalls here, this 401k is most oftentimes, the loan on the 401k is contingent upon you being employed by the company. That's not like any other type of debt out there. I mean, you might not be able to pay your debt out there, but nobody's going to call your loan necessarily just because you get terminated from your job or quit your job. With a 401k loan, most often, you have between 30 and 90 days to pay that back. And most often in my experience is the way it ends up getting paid back if you get fired is you have to take a pre-59.5 withdrawal off of the 401k balance to pay off the loan. You're going to face a penalty. You're going to face tax. You're going to face a whole mess if you end up having to do that. So there are a bunch of pitfalls, I think, is what I'm trying to get across here. In this interest rate environment, there actually can be some intelligent places where it can make sense to touch this thing, which I'm very hesitant to even acknowledge as a financial advisor. But if you've got a giant credit card bill at 20% interest, it'd be really tough for me to say, yeah, you should never use that 401k. I think the problem that I face is even with the mathematical sense it can make to use a 401k loan as a solution to a lot of these things, the problem that I would have would just be, what's the likelihood of someone landing right back in this same situation
right
6, 9, 12 months from now? That would be the very first step. Before you're going to talk about refinancing any sort of debt or tapping into your 401k is this going to actually help solve the problem or just kick the can back down the road, right? Like that would be phase one for me is, if I'm going to look at tapping my 401k, what lifestyle choices am I going to have to make sure that I never get in this position again? Because you're just robbing from yourself. You're borrowing from yourself, your own financial future to be able to do so. If you're facing a problem like this, if someone you know is trying to decide, hey, what debt do I pay down fastest? Which one do I focus on? Should I be focusing on saving for retirement or paying off a loan of one sort or another? These are the types of questions that financial advisors assist with every day. And quite honestly, while there may be some people on radio or TV that are willing to just dole out that advice willy-nilly without any specialization or without any specificity to your situation, that's not the right thing to do. You do need to actually get into the weeds and understand what type of situation you're in before assessing this situation. You may be considering a 401k loan or have one out. If you are trying to figure out where that goes next and how to best utilize it and how to best assess the debts that are out there for you, give the folks at Armstrong Advisory Group a call. Our number here is 800-393-4001. We'll sit down with you to develop an overall financial strategy that focuses on your eventual retirement. Again, that number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Piece from CNBC. Some consumers are punting big purchases like pools and mattresses. So The cover image on this piece is a guy working on installing an in-ground pool, and I'm sitting there, I'm going, those things aren't really equal in terms of the scale.
You're talking, what does it cost to put an in-ground pool in, right?
So
I mean, at least 75 mattresses.
I can answer that question for you.
Okay, what do you got?
I have a buddy of mine who last year went around and got quotes. He was buying a new place and wanted to get a pool put in. And wasn't looking for anything, crazy fancy, no water slides, waterfalls, dipsy-doo, whatever, just standard rectangular pool. And this is in the New England area.
Sure.
Normal size, maybe 30 feet long, 15, 20 feet wide, something like that. And the quotes that he got for an in-ground pool, gunite sides and stuff like that.
May I guess?
Yes.
$150.
The cheapest was $125. The most expensive was $200.
Yeah.
And you $1,000, by the way, because then you do realize that. By the way, do you know that Sam's Club right now does sell an above-ground pool, 18 feet wide, for $400?
That's as cheap as a mattress.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe that's the pools they're talking about.
There's other ones that I'm looking on. You can get Amazon a 16 by 32, 52-inch deep above-ground pool for $2,000. So I can understand comparing that to a mattress.
Yeah.
Not an in-ground pool, which is way, way more.
But this is a real thing that we are seeing here and I get it, that if you've put off the decision on what to do with your home over the last few years because you might not want to live there for long term, or you might be looking to upgrade, or any number of different situations, I can see how this is starting to weigh on some of these sectors. I think, generally speaking, pool installers are pretty busy, but you're starting to see it in some of these areas. And the good news on that front is I don't think it lasts very long. Because I do think that home purchases are going to start going through soon. I do think that people are either going to kind of put up or shut up, right? It's like, okay, do I go and improve my home now and just commit to staying here for the next decade? Or do I think I can find a better deal elsewhere?
Can we talk mattresses for a second? Because this is something I do find fascinating.
Okay.
Not on your choice of mattress. I could care less.
Okay.
I couldn't care less.
Okay.
It bothers me when people say I could care less. No, you couldn't. The Sleep Number CEO, Shelley Eibach, they interviewed. This is one of those names. I don't know if it's a him or her.
Okay.
Shelley can go either way. I'm going to say her.
Okay.
The consumer's purchasing power is limited. As a result, consumers tend to scrutinize their spending and make near-term. I was right?
Correct.
Great. And make near-term decisions based primarily on need, price, and perceived value. And they are deferring higher-ticket durable purchases. The mattress industry is in a historic recession. So this is something I didn't have on my bingo card, quite honestly.
No.
And I'm trying to make sense out of it in terms of the timeline for buying these. Because while we talked about people moving into, new homes and stuff like that, or renovating, generally I was under the assumption that when you move to a new place, you're usually keeping your mattress. Or if you're doing a renovation, you usually keep, a mattress is not something that you replace during a renovation most of the time.
Not for me, no.
So,
no, I mean, when we moved, we opted to get a new mattress.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
I could see it happen. Yeah,
I could,
Depends
I guess.
on how old your mattress is at your old place or whatever, yeah.
They are a pain to move. Take up a lot of that, truck
they
space.
Do. Now, the other question that I have on this is, are mattresses the new men's underwear index? I forget who was it. Peter Lynch who kind of coined the term. I forget who it was.
I don't remember.
The premise of
Buffett.
it is that one of the best recession indicators is men's underwear, because when things get bad, they just say, you know what, it's got holes in it. I'll tough it out. It's fine. When things get better, yep, time to buy the new undies. We got to load up.
I don't think mattresses
do mattresses function the same way?
I don't think so.
And that's why I'm confused about this mattress recession, because when your mattress gets to a point where it's can't sleep on this anymore, I think you kind of just...
Greenspan, by the way.
Greenspan? Okay, there you go. It just feels like an item where...
I think maybe the mattress industry has just way overdone it. How many ship-to-you mattress companies are there out there? And then why, when I go into any reasonably populated area, are there as many mattress stores as there are banks?
It's true, yeah.
Maybe you just overdid it.
There is an explanation for that, but I can't remember it.
Yeah.
There was the conspiracy theory going around Reddit for a while.
Yeah, I saw that one.
What were they?
It was what was it? Was it drugs? Was it
Drugs.
Yeah.
Mexican cartel.
Yeah.
Oh,
which
was a
obviously
front.
like is not the case.
They're like, why are all those stores empty, man?
So
Money laundering.
it's not that.
yeah, probably not.
Sure about that?
If it's on Reddit, probably not.
If it's on Reddit?
I'm pretty sure about it. But let's take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll do some stack roulette.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Are you looking to volunteer for an amazing nonprofit organization that helps our veterans? The DAV Department of Massachusetts Transportation Network needs volunteers right now. This network provides free transportation to and from any VA medical appointment for veterans of all eras. To become a volunteer driver, you do not need to be a veteran or a DAV member. You just need to have the willingness to help our veterans and have a valid driver's license. Sign up now at davma.org. That's davma.org.
There are crucial mistakes you can make during the estate planning process that may have a damaging effect on your financial strategy. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called Detour Ahead, Estate Planning Blunders to Avoid. Get yours today and make the right decisions to protect your assets. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699 or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Visit St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and experience incredible weather, iconic history, pristine beaches, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. Book now and you might just make it in time for the St. Croix Mango Melee on July 7th. The family-friendly event offers food demonstrations and tastings, cultural dance performances, and the ever-popular mango eating contest. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now by going to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
A recent report from LawDepot.com says that only 3 out of every 10 adults in the U.S. have taken the time to create an estate plan. Don't be a member of that group. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. A sound estate plan can give you control over your assets and peace of mind as you enter your retirement years. Our new guide is called Leaving a Financial Legacy, and in it, we look at estate planning from a financial perspective. It's important to have a strategy that addresses your investment portfolio and all of your holdings, including real estate. We'll also focus on other issues, such as how to manage long-term care expenses that may affect you down the road. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001, or you can also request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The U.S. Virgin Islands is the perfect destination for your next vacation. Enjoy St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John, and enjoy pristine beaches, world-class dining, and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no passport required or money to exchange. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Mike, what do you have for me for the roulette of the stack?
Grocery prices in Massachusetts, specifically the greater Boston area, are rising faster than in most of the country. I thought we were kind of done with this because nationally you are seeing grocery prices stabilize, but in Massachusetts it's not the case. And I don't buy the reason that the Boston Globe is arguing that this is occurring.
Is it that we have to bring our groceries in through the liquefied grocery transport system in Boston Harbor?
No. They're saying that the reason is that the metro area is home to a plethora of local, regional, and national chains, each controlling only a relatively modest piece of consumers' grocery dollars. So what they are saying
more competition
in this
keeping
piece
groceries up
is more competition and a lack of a big prominent player like Kroger in the New England market is leading to higher grocery prices, and I just don't buy it. I think that there are plenty.
It's a take. I'll give them that.
Yeah, so, I mean, the argument is, hey, you know, if you don't have a Kroger in the market, then there's not enough size and market power to reduce prices and pressure your suppliers. And I'm not even close to buying this one. So if you want my explanation, we have among the lowest unemployment rate in the country. We have some of the highest very high minimum wage. We have high labor costs in general in the greater Boston area. And I will also... I have no evidence to support this one, but the lack of wine and beer sales at the majority of grocery stores, I have to think causes these stores to run at a lower operating margin than nationally in comparison, because I know that liquor stores, for example, generally operate with like a 20 to 40% op margin, whereas a grocery store is at like 5%. And so if you can't sell beer, wine, and liquor, then I would imagine you're trying to make your full margin on the grocery items, and that could be more challenging.
You know what the solution is to this?
Sell liquor in grocery stores?
Soup tubes.
No, that's not going to fix the problem, Chuck.
Soup tubes.
Yeah, that seems like a big infrastructure project.
I want to talk about skipping coffee, because there's a piece in the Wall Street Journal that says skipping coffee is the latest humble brag. Now, those of you who have listened to the show for a while, you know that I don't drink coffee, and I'm not humble about it. I brag about it quite often, that I have more energy than Mike, despite not drinking any coffee.
Indeed.
But this piece is kind of embarrassing for some of the people in it. I'm like, just in terms of the things that they talk about doing. These are not things that human beings like do or that we know anything about. So Brian Johnson, who is the founder of Venmo, the full name is Braintree Venmo, even though they're not based in Braintree, Massachusetts, I believe. He is trying to figure out how to reverse age himself. He says new social norms are emerging, so instead of turning to caffeine when dealing with jet lag, he just did a 3-minute cryotherapy appointment.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, just like normal humans do.
Little out of touch, are we, Brian?
Okay, I'm just trying to picture how this would work for the morning rush. Like, okay, everyone's trying to get up, and you pull into like a former car wash that is now just spraying ice into your vehicle.
Yeah.
How do you can't cryotherapy your way out of this. Furthermore, we just don't know if it works.
Well, Chuck, we do lots of stupid things to make ourselves look younger that might not work.
Okay. So
cryotherapy isn't the first one to come about.
That's another one here. Supermodel Giselle starts her mornings with room temperature water with a bit of lemon and Celtic salt.
Celtic.
Yeah, Celtic.
Is that a thing?
Okay. Yeah.
Celtic salt is a thing?
Yeah, she's not getting like, Boston Celtics themed salt in her water.
I thought it was like it turned the water green. I didn't know. What do you do with this salt?
I have no idea.
Is it different from regular salt? Or is this like the Himalayan pink salt that's actually the exact same? It doesn't taste any different.
Probably that.
So,
what is with the skipping coffee is the next in line from, everybody monitoring their sleep and going to bed at 7:30 p.m. and bragging about how much they slept. I don't know. In my circle, it's mainly bragging about like Tucker comes in and tells us how he slept like 2.5 hours last night and is existing only on coffee for the last 2 days. Like, that's the brag that I want to hear about, not, oh, I slept 9 hours and I don't need coffee anymore. Nah, not buying it.
Here's the thing.
Doesn't make for an interesting conversation.
I'm not a coffee guy, mostly because, as Mike says, he's kind of nervous what I would be like on coffee. I am too. I don't think I need that in my life. But if all we're trying to do is like reduce our lives to the most boring things possible in order to live longer, that's not a life worth living. Like, on Saturday night, had a couple people over, we had a few bottles of wine and had a great time.
Yeah.
And that's
not good for my life expectancy.
Might die a little bit earlier, but I'm better off having had a little bit of fun. And, it's just, we can't become the artificial intelligence that we're trying to prevent from us creating. If all we want to do is be a robot who lives a long time, it's a horrible life, in my opinion. That's where I feel like we're trending with everyone. Like, oh, I want to live longer. No, I want to live a fuller and better life. Yes, I don't want to skydive every day and die at 39, because that would just be kind of like, you can go too far, is what I'm saying as well. But there's a balance.
But I don't want to follow the Tom Brady diet just to be Mike, who's not an athlete.
I'm not going to be a professional anything other than what I already do. So let's just live some life, listen to some music a little bit too loud occasionally, have a drink too many, get an Uber so we don't drink and drive, and call it a day.
Chuck Zodda encouraging binge drinking here on the Financial Exchange. Thanks.
I know what I'm having for lunch. Alcohol.
Let's take a break for the rest of the day so we can have some fun, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Financial Exchange.